قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
Before the questions, or rather, let's cancel the questions out today, because most likely you're going to probably be asking about matters that we'll address in next class. But I wanted to talk about an issue. It actually somewhat ties to our topic today. A sister from a site, she has a site, or she made a site, a group of sisters, I'm not sure, or sister. The site is called Support My Brothers, supportmybrothersweebly.com. Inshallah, they'll write it for, the brothers will write it for you so you can visit the site. She has petitions about a certain situation that's going on. And as the strangers that we are, we're always raising awareness to matters that are neglected. When we initially began to raise awareness about our ulama and brothers and sisters in Saudi prisons, I know for a fact, in fact, I specifically asked some brothers here who are here today to research if there was anyone doing that in English or in the West. And they did research, because if they did, we can move on to spend our time in other things. There was a gap. There was no bridge between the English-speaking Muslims, or rather the Muslims in the West, and our brothers and sisters, the hundreds, possibly the thousands, in the lands of Haramain in particular, who have members in prison who needed raising awareness for their families in prison, to the torture in the prison, to the unjust detentions, no trials, no sentences, no courts. Now, alhamdulillah, there's plenty carrying out that task. May Allah reward those who started it and those who carried it on. The Twitter campaign, for example, for Shaykh Nasser was the most successful universal Twitter campaign for a prisoner up to date, alhamdulillah. The reason I mention that is to encourage and reiterate what I've said many times. It was the blessing of Allah, and then our brothers, and especially and mainly, and that's who I mean, our online brothers and sisters who took on this task seriously and made it such a stunning success. May Allah reward them and grant them barakah in this life and firdaus in the life after. Now we have some Sunni brothers in Iran who are waiting to be hanged by the ruthless, merciless Rafida. To make it simple and clear, the sister or sisters have a petition that one can fill out. I assume it draws attention, or I'm not exactly sure the main purpose of it, but it will draw awareness to this and possibly help them. That's a beneficial way of helping them. But it doesn't end there. You need to follow up and keep raising awareness. Never neglect Muslim causes, otherwise Allah will neglect you when you desperately need Him. Filling the petition is the least you can do. The Prophet ﷺ gave us a direct order in the Sahih, the obligation to secure the release of our prisoners. We don't have to keep going over that. Raising awareness to their situation in your social media account is something you should take to heart. It leaves a great impact, and it's the least you could do. And it takes no effort, and it brings you no harm. On top of that, and more important than that, is you make dua for them behind their backs. If you don't use your social media for that, what do you use it for? What do you use it for? To tell people when you went to drink coffee, come back? Who cares? In fact, The matter is so crucial that from the time when they asked me to talk about it until today, I was able to talk about it finally. From the time they told me a few days ago till today, several of our brothers were hung. May Allah grant them the level of martyrs. Iran, the Rafida, has been executed and massacred Sunnis all along. This is actually nothing new. It intensified when the doomed Khomeini, may Allah grant him the pit bottom of Jahannam, took power. Those who know their Aqidah know very well their Aqidah, the Aqidah of the Rafida. The Aqidah of the Rafida can never be accepted but by a filthy, hard-hearted individual. Ibn Taymiyyah in Minhaj al-Sunnah wrote volumes about these people in depth and in detail. And many statements, when you read them, you think Ibn Taymiyyah is sitting right there in Iran right now talking about them, or in Iraq, or in Syria, or in Damascus. He's not living amongst us. And he wasn't a fortune teller to write that. But the Rafida back then are the Rafida of today, the same Aqidah, the same belief, same people. He said they're the worst. In one of his statements, he said they're the worst people. They're the haters of the Sahaba, and they always be loyal, the enemies of Allah against Muslims. That's one of his statements. He also, in one of his statements, said they're the donkeys, the enemies of Islam ride on to harm Muslims. Look at that. He knows what he was talking about. Rather, your Muslim brothers and sisters in Iran are being hung by the Rafida for no crime other than they say Allah is our Lord. That's their crime, because that's a crime by the Rafida. To adopt the Aqidah of Tawheed is a crime. To love the Sahaba, that's a crime by the Rafida. When a woman gets charged with adultery in Iran and she's going to be executed or she's going to be stoned, you hear the uproar and commotion in everywhere, in every form of media. When wave after wave of our Sunni brothers and sisters get executed and hung, it goes by unnoticed, unmentioned. Nobody cares. Plenty of Sunnah in the world. Who cares about them? We don't care about our own for anyone to care about us. Those radiant faces they plan to hang, the recent ones they hung, and the rest that they plan to hang, look at those faces. You will see radiant faces full of love of Sahaba, purified with wudu. You can see it on their faces, faces of Sunnah and Hadith. It's written all over their faces. Men who, even according to the laws of the Rafida in Iran, were not charged with violent crimes. That's even according to their laws. Allah and only Allah is their Lord. Pure, real Tawheed is a crime. It goes against the shirk, the core belief of the Rafida. The belief of Rafida is founded on shirk, just like our belief is founded on Tawheed. Our brothers that are getting hanged are criminals to them because they don't associate 12 Imams with Allah and powers that only belong to Allah. That's a crime there. Their crime is that they love your mother, our mother, my mother and your mother, Aisha radiallahu anha. That's a crime. They praise the Sahaba. That's a crime. They memorize and love Hadith. They're people of Hadith. That's a crime. Let me tell you, if a Muslim kills, a Muslim goes and robs someone and intends on killing him and kills him. Premeditated murder. He deliberately killed another innocent Muslim or innocent non-Muslim. He's in Islamic court. Sharia court judges, and the judge looks into the matter and then maybe sentence him to death. This is one of the few matters where a family can intervene and forgive. The man went and killed his Muslim brother. The family of those who, all it takes from fiqh point of view is one immediate family member from the victim's family over the age of puberty to say, I forgive him. And that's it. He walks home. That's why if there's a son to the victim, the one who got killed, the kid, he's under the age of puberty, they keep the killer in custody until the son gets over the age of puberty so they can ask him if he forgives or not. The family can't fully forgive. And the case gets dropped, the man walks home. Number two, they can accept a ransom in return for forgiving, and he walks home as well. Number three, they don't reject all that, and he gets his punishment. Muslims are encouraged to help save the life of a killer. A killer that killed in a criminal act that no one can justify. He's a killer and a criminal by Islamic law, yet we're supposed to help save his life. Help and collect ransom to save the life of a killer is a great deed. Help and convince the family to forgive him is a great deed. Forgive who? A criminal who killed. Cold-blooded murder. Our Sunni brothers in Iran didn't kill. They didn't harm. They didn't hurt. Their crime is tawheed. They love Ahl Sunnah. They love the Sahaba and your mother. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. Help raise awareness. If you don't use your iPhone and your computer for such causes, what do you use them for? You have to give zakah on them. The zakah on them is in such matters like this. Use them for such causes. If it works or it doesn't, that's not for me and you. That's for Allah. You did what you can do. This was means available for you. It's not bringing you harm. It's very easy. It's right at your fingertips. It's simple. You do it and you leave the rest to Allah. Look at what Allah said. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. If anyone saves a life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. You save one life, not even save it directly. You contribute in any tiny way to saving a life, no matter how small of an effort you put into it, maybe a word you said, maybe a petition, whatever it may be, you get the reward as if you saved the entire universe of people. Other Mufassirin said, that means he's worthy of being thanked by all the creation of the human being for the noble deed he did. The least of it is when you stand before Allah and you're asked before Allah and He asks you, what'd you do? And you tell Him, I did what all I could do. This was before me and this is what I did. These are people who are going to lose their lives because they are Ahl Sunnah. That's about it. These are people under the hands of people worse than animals. Al-Sha'bi rahimahullah, in authentic chain to him, in Kitab al-Sunnah said, Rafida, had they been of the species of birds, they would have been rukhma. They would have been rukhma. If they were the species of cattle, they would have been donkeys. He said, لو كانت الشيعة من الطير لكانت رخمة ولو كانت من البهائم لكانت حمرة. When Ibn Taymiyyah, who came after Al-Sha'bi, commented on this in his 4th volume of Al-Fatawa, Al-Sha'bi knew them all too, he said Al-Sha'bi knew them all too well. Ibn Taymiyyah said Al-Sha'bi knew them all too well. Al-Sha'bi compared them to a bird called rukhm. When I learned this statement, maybe 2 decades ago, I went to my father's library in Lisan al-Arab, the Arabic encyclopedia, and I looked up what out of all the birds, why did he choose a bird no one, it's rare for anyone to hear about or know what kind of bird it is. Why did he choose this bird? Why out of all the birds did he choose this bird? So in Lisan al-Arab, I can understand the part about the donkeys, but what is this rukhm? When you look in Lisan al-Arab, it says that it's a vulturous bird that looks like an eagle. I have no idea what it is in English. If anyone finds out, please let me know. It's a vulturous bird that looks like an eagle. He said it's a bird that's known for 2 characteristics, 2 main qualities. It's known for, number 1, being treacherous and betrayal. And number 2, it's a very unclean, dirty, unkept bird. And that's Rafida. Treacherous, filth. Then I happened later on to read a book which has nothing to do with this issue, Kitab al-Haywan al-Jahil. He was talking about this bird. And when he was talking about this bird, he said it's consensus that this bird is the meanest, most evil transgressor of all birds. This is on the bird part. But on the donkey part, I'm nowhere near having any credentials of correcting a Sha'bi or my beloved, you know how much I love Ibn Taymiyyah, who repeated this in his work, or other giants that I've read this statement in their works like Al-Khallal, Al-Lalaka'i. These are Imams of Ahl Sunnah who reiterated the statements in their books of Tawheed. Imams and giants of Ahl Sunnah all approved and mentioned and reiterated the Sha'bi statement. May Allah raise their ranks to Firdaus for their service of Islam and the revival of Tawheed. Imams who truly revived Tawheed. But I beg to differ with them on this matter because I feel they disrespected the donkeys by that statement. It's impossible for a heart to hate Aisha, the mother of the believers. How can someone read the history of Aisha and hate her? The love of the Prophet ﷺ. The man who he openly said, I love her. Who's your love? I love Aisha. When they asked him, when the Sahaba thought that each one of them was the main man that he loved, who's your love of Prophet? Aisha. And then you tell me someone hates her and calls himself a Muslim? Abd al-Haq al-Asfahani has a book he wrote about the Rafida. He said, and he mentioned quotes, he said, al-Asfahani wrote, he said, he quoted leaders of Iran saying that they have a 50-year program to eliminate the roots of Ahl Sunnah in Iran. And that's what you see going on today. Ahl Sunnah in Iran are prisoners within that country, just living in that country. So just imagine how it is when they're in physical prisons. Tehran has a Sunni population of 300,000 people. They have Christians, they have very small minority of Christians and Jews. They have 12 churches in Tehran. They have 4 synagogues in Tehran. They even have an open monument, a grave where some person or saint they call Korosh, the leaders of the Magis, the Majus. They openly in public go to that monument and make sujood to him. The Majus worship. The Jews worship. They have their synagogue. The Christians have their churches. Do you know there's not a single masjid permitted for Ahl Sunnah in Tehran? Yeah, it shows you. Everyone's barking about minorities and their rights, especially in countries where Rafid are the minorities. They're worried about their rights. But no one's there to stand for the rights of the minorities of Ahl Sunnah in Iran who are being slaughtered and massacred. While the news is playing left and right on the necks of our brothers in Iran, the Ruwaybid are meeting to call for unity. Lack of care of the Ummah. These are the kind of leaders we have. I wonder those foolish Ruwaybida, the frauds of this Ummah, who claim to be of Ahl Sunnah, who have been meeting for unity. And until today, I don't know what, I mean, they haven't learned, they haven't been seeing what's going on in the world. They're still calling for unity at the same time that the noose has been playing left and right at the necks of our brothers in Iran. And you see what they're doing in Syria, in Iraq. It's even worse. We didn't say go run around to the street and grab the Shia and beat them, or the Rafida and beat them, or harm them, or torture, or touch them. But at the same time, we definitely say there's no unity in belief with them. No, there isn't. Look at the scenario and focus with me. Those guys who call for unity, those big heads that call for unity, those who sign for pact. What if we're going to take it as a scenario. What if you were in, no one do this, but I'm just giving you a scenario so you can understand. You know, you call one of them up, you say, you know your mom, your sister, she was messing around with a couple guys. You know your mom, after your dad died, she was messing around with another man and she betrayed your dad. You know your dad, he was a homosexual. Shaykh, that's your mom and your dad, but you, me and you, I think we can get along. Shaykh, that's your mom and your dad, but can you come over and give us a lecture in our community? Shaykh, that's what I think about your mom and your dad, but I want to unite with you. I want to be pals with you. I want to sit and have coffee with you. I want to sit on the round table with you. That's what I think about your mom and your dad. And I want my kids and your kids to grow up together. But that's what your mom and your dad are about. That's what they are. What do you think the answer of him will be? These are people, those pro-unity people, once they smell someone talking about them, they warn about them and they tell their congregation and their students and the smell of it. Imagine if that's said to them. That's what the Rafida, what I just said, that's what the Rafida say about my mom and your mom Aisha. That's what they say about my dad and your dad Umar radiallahu anhu wa an Aisha. When you say you're a Rafidi, that means you adopt their belief. Like when I say I'm Sunni, I believe in the books of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. When you say you're a Rafidi, you believe in their reference books. We didn't get this out of our pockets. That's in your reference books that's been praised by your heads. If one of them pops up using tuqya, says he doesn't believe it, well, that's tuqya. If he says I don't really believe in it, then we'll tell him, come here, buddy, you got an identity crisis. If you don't believe in what's in your reference books, that means you got to go to therapy, get your title changed, You got to get that title change because the Rafida believes in the books of the Rafida. That's why you're called Rafida. Christian believes in the Bible. These are people, for decades, they've been calling us people of fitan because we've been telling them what the Rafida are. How dare you guys call me and my father before me? May Allah protect him and grant him a long life full of deeds. You guys cause fitna. What you see in Syria, what you see in Iraq, what you see in Iran. They're people who've been for decades dealing by emotions while we deal by aqidah. Qardawi, who are you guys to talk about it when Qardawi said for decades they're the Muslims and they're our brothers and their imam is a great imam, and Qardawi said it a month and a half ago. After 3 decades or so, and what happened in Syria a month and a half ago, Al-Qardawi stood up and said what I said about the Rafida, the other shuyukh, meaning the other people like us. He said they were right. They had more foresight and I was wrong. Because we didn't go by slogans. The slogans didn't fool us. We know what's in their books. We read what Ibn Taymiyyah said about it. It's time for the rest of them to recant and join what their Shaykh al-Qardawi said. He recanted. He openly admitted he was wrong in the past 3 decades. After what? But he recanted. The last statistics I was reading is that in Iran there was 20 million Sunnis. Nearly 1/4. They're like what Ash-Sha'bi said about them. The birds. And when they're weak, it's unity. No differences. They want to say no differences. We're facing the same qibla. We're doing the same hajj. When they get the stronghold, look at the massacres. Show me a country, show me a town, now and in history, where the Rafida took leadership and became the strongholders of it, where they didn't massacre and commit genocide against Ahl Sunnah. Had we had time, I would have went in detail with their history and what they did. Iraq today is another horror story in what they're doing to Ahl Sunnah. Who put Malik in power? Do you understand what Ibn Taymiyyah said when he said their donkeys, the enemy's right on? Who put him in there? Do you know what he's doing to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in Iraq as we speak? Syria has become the mother of all lessons. It made Al-Qardawi, Shaykh Al-Qardawi recant and openly confess that the other Shaykh were right all this time. He said that, he clearly said that. It's time for those pro-unity who look up to Al-Qardawi to listen to that. I was reading a list of the generals. They say it's not Shia versus Sunnah or not Alawi versus Sunnah. Bashar has approximately 1,300 generals. Approximately 1,250 are Alawi. And they tell you it's not Alawi versus Sunni. Had I had time, I would mention in-depth details about these matters. Ibn Taymiyyah, to us, is a big scholar, a reviver. They have a man called Ni'matullah al-Jazairi. May Allah doom his soul, may Allah grant him the lowest of hellfire. He died in 1701. He wrote several books. In his biography, they say about him, he's one of the biggest heads of the Rafida. You know what he said, one of his quotes? We do not have nothing in common with Ahl Sunnah at all. Our Lord is not their Lord. Our messenger is not their messenger. We don't believe in a Lord who sent a messenger whose successor is Abu Bakr. Nor do we believe in a messenger who takes Abu Bakr as a successor. He is the same one who spoke about Umar, the statement I said. He's the one who said that Umar, I actually don't want to repeat it. He's the one who said derogatory statements about Umar. Make dua, fill the petitions, raise awareness. So they know that they have brothers of Ahl Sunnah who are wide awake and know what's going on. So they will not continue in their transgression. A little bit of effort on your behalf, and Allah will grant you abundance and reward and put plenty of barakah in it, bi'idhnillah. Do your part and leave the rest to Allah. اللهم فك قيد أسرانا في إيران وأسر المسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم ردهم إلى أهلهم سالمين. اللهم إنهم في حاجة عاجلة إلى رحماتك. اللهم إنهم في حاجة عاجلة إلى رحماتك. اللهم أنزل عليهم رحماتك يا رحمن يا رحيم. اللهم من آذاهم فآذه ومن عاداهم فعاده. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. وجزاكم الله